Picture this. You ride into a dusty frontier town, the sun setting behind you, a picture of rugged freedom. You step into the saloon, where rugged cowboys and charming saloon girls turn to look at you with admiration. No, you've got it all wrong. Let's try that again. You're leading your horse into town, and the first thing that hits you isn't a sense of adventure, but the smell. It's a thick, potent blend of horse manure, unwashed bodies, and something vaguely like rotting meat that you try very hard not to identify. The majestic dust kicked up by your horse isn't just sand. It's a fine powder of dried waste from every living creature within a 5-mile radius. Welcome to your new home. Before you even think about a drink, you check out the general store. You need supplies. The store is a dark, cramped room that smells of damp wood and pickles. The shopkeeper eyes you suspiciously as you browse the meager selection. A rusty can of beans costs $1, a day's wages for some. A single, sad-looking apple is a luxury item. You see a shovel and remember your dream of building a small homestead while playing Minecraft. Then you see the price and decide maybe sleeping on the roadside isn't so bad after all. So, defeated, you decide you really do need that drink now. You push open the swinging doors of the saloon. The wall of smoke hits you first, making your eyes water. The piano player is plinking out a tune with only one hand because the other is busy swatting flies away from his face. The place is filled with exhausted, grim-faced men who look like they've aged 30 years in the last 5. This isn't a place of fun. It's a place where men come to forget how miserable they are. You find an empty spot at the bar. The bartender, a man whose beard looks like a bird's nest that lost a fight with an oil slick, slides a glass of whiskey toward you. You take a sip, and your throat feels like it's been scrubbed with sandpaper and gasoline. He explains with a grin that good liquor is expensive, so they stretch it. You learn later that stretching involves adding things like chili powder, ammonia, and sometimes even a hint of strychnine for that extra kick. Suddenly, you're not thirsty anymore. You ask for water instead. The bartender laughs, a deep, rattling sound that ends in a coughing fit. He points to a communal barrel in the corner. The water is murky, with a faint green sheen. You decide you'd rather risk the stretched whiskey. It turns out the water is a faster way to meet your maker, teeming with cholera and typhoid. You're beginning to realize that in the Wild West, everything is trying to cause you severe internal complications, just very, very slowly. But what if you get sick? Surely there's a doctor, right? Yes, there's a man who calls himself a doctor. He's also the town barber, and on weekends, the guy who fixes wagon wheels. You show him a nasty cut on your arm. He nods sagely, pulls out a saw that looks like it was last used to cut down a petrified tree, and suggests amputation. For a cut. You politely decline, trying not to look at the other questionable tools hanging on his wall. A pair of rusty pliers and something that looks suspiciously like a branding iron. His alternative solution is a generous smear of a mysterious gray paste. He proudly tells you it contains mercury, which he claims scares the sickness right out. You later find out that the only thing it scares out is your sanity as the mercury poisoning slowly sets in. Your hands start to tremble just a little, and a strange metallic taste lingers in your mouth. Your simple life of freedom has quickly become a paranoid game of avoiding everything. You need a job to get out of this town, a real cowboy job. You imagine yourself on the open range, a lone rider under a blanket of stars. The reality is a little less poetic. You find the ranch foreman, a man who looks like he was carved from granite and then left out in the sun for 50 years. He doesn't ask for a resume. He looks at your soft hands, laughs, and tells you to be ready at dawn. Your new job isn't riding heroically into the sunset. It's spending 16 hours a day on horseback, trailing 1,000 cows that smell even worse than the town you just left. The work is mind-numbingly boring. Days blur into a monotonous cycle of riding, eating beans from a can, and sleeping on the hard ground with only a thin bedroll for comfort. The beans, by the way, are always burnt. You've developed a new, unwelcome relationship with your saddle, and the resulting sores make sitting a form of creative torture. You are lonely. The other cowboys don't talk much. They just grunt and spit. The only conversation you have is with your horse, and you're pretty sure it thinks you're an idiot. One afternoon, another cowboy offers you a piece of jerky. You gratefully accept, only to find it's so tough it feels like you're chewing on a leather boot. You spend the next hour trying to dislodge a piece from your teeth. This is your life now. You thought being a cowboy was about duels and adventure. It's mostly about preventing cows from wandering off or dying of boredom. A fate you're starting to find deeply relatable. One night, a thunderstorm rolls in. The sky cracks open with a sound like the world is ending. The cows panic. This isn't just a storm. It's a stampede. It's pure chaos. 1,000 panicked animals, a sea of horns and hooves, moving as one unstoppable force in the pitch-black, rain-slicked night. You can't see. You can only hear the thunder of their charge and the frantic shouts of the other cowboys. Your horse, smarter than you, is terrified. You try to steer the herd, but it's like trying to stop a river with a teacup. A cowboy to your left goes down, his scream swallowed by the storm. You don't even see it happen. You just notice he's gone. You cling to your horse, your knuckles white, as the ground trembles. This isn't heroic. It's terrifying. You're just a tiny, insignificant speck in the face of raw, mindless panic. A rogue steer clips your horse's leg. You go down. The world becomes a blur of mud, rain, and the terrifying weight of hooves. You feel a sharp, terrible pressure in your leg, then nothing. The night feels like an eternity. By the time the sun rises, the herd is calmed. You've lost 100 cows and 2 men. Their remains are just trampled patches of earth. No one holds a funeral. They just count the losses, check your leg, and tell you you'll be lucky if you can walk without a limp. You are now a liability. You sit by the fire that night, nursing your shattered leg, the smell of wet cow and finality clinging to you. You look out at the vast, empty prairie. This was the freedom you wanted. The freedom from society, from rules, from comfort. The freedom to be left behind. A liability with a broken bone, 100 miles from anyone who knows your name. You realize the Wild West wasn't about being a hero. It was about surviving a world that didn't care if you lived or died. A world of filth, disease, and brutal, boring work. A world where your greatest achievement was simply seeing the next sunrise. And frankly, it just sucked.